Perspective is an important skill to have when you are climbing to infinite on the ladder. I have been very complainy this season. In fact, one video I was so frustrated with the meta as I was climbing that I got emotional. I was also like extremely sick, so that didn't help. However, now, looking back, compiling this data for you so I could share what decks I used to reach infinite, things are a lot better than I thought they were. So sometimes perspective helps a lot. Overall, now that I'm in infinite, we've got about almost 2 weeks exactly left of the season. I actually feel pretty good, and I feel like most of the complaining was me being very myopic and focused on the current suffering that I had, and also me being impatient on the climb to infinite. So I have 10 decks for you now that I've reached infinite that I used on my climb that I want to share with you to help you on your climb if that is something that you want to do to climb on ladder, but you honestly could use these decks anywhere. I did use a lot more than 10 decks, and there was a lot of iteration and, trial and error and, small tweaks to each deck to get them to where they are, but these are the 10 top performing decks that helped me to climb on ladder. Additionally, after those 10 decks, I have a few tips. As I do every season, I reflect back to my climb on infinite. What did I learn? What did it teach me this time? What is like the takeaway of the skill or the thing that I want to remember for next season when I start to climb again? Before I show you the first one, I just have to say that I'm actually really excited about these decks. I feel like they are a combination of decks that you are familiar with, probably from me. They are similar archetypes that you're used to seeing me playing, but there's also a lot of really surprising new archetypes, and overall, any single one of these I would be happy to continue to play. And believe it or not, there's a surprising amount of the Horde archetype in there. So if you're interested in that, I've got some news right after I show you this first deck. So the first one that helped us get to infinite, which was literally the deck that got us to rank 100, was this one from the most recent I Play Your Way video from Diana from Reddit. Suggested this video or this deck for me. It was a lot of fun. I have not responded to the comments yet, but what people are saying is accurate, that you could probably put Giant Man in this deck in place of Agamotto, because the deck dilution of Agamotto is a frustration, and there were certainly situations that had that. But this was the deck that literally got me there to infinite. It barely is below the threshold that I have of decks to include in this video. I say I have to gain 10 cubes with a deck for it to be included in this video. I only gained 9 with this deck, but that's because there were only that many cubes left for me to win when I started to play this deck on my climb to ladder. I continued to win after that, but specifically pre-infinite, I have an 85% win rate with this out of the 7 games I played before I reached infinite. And like I mentioned, I'm up 9 cubes. I really enjoyed this deck. I've continued to play it. I'm really, really liking this. If you don't like Agamotto, you don't like the deck thinning, which is completely understandable, you could put in Zombie Giant Man. Or somebody said, what's a replacement for the Hunger? So if you want to, I would actually suggest keep Agamotto in that place and do something like a King... not a King Eitri, he's right here. A Nicholas Scratch. Get rid of the Hunger for Nicholas Scratch. That's what I would do. So that is the first deck, and excited to share that so many of these decks, including this one, are ones that you suggested that I play. So thank you continually for the suggestions. These I Play Your Way videos are going to be a weekly reoccurrence, so continue to suggest decks for me. And as I mentioned, there's a surprising amount of the Horde archetype and Zombie Scarlet Witch this season, and that was because I was really excited about this archetype, and so I was really forcing myself to play it a lot to try and get it to a point where it could win for me. So if you're thinking, oh man, I don't have that card, I can't participate in these Horde mechanics, well, I've got good news for you. I'm giving away season passes for Zombie Scarlet Witch. Not in this video, but specifically in the video of this deck, the I Play Your Way, the video I uploaded right before this. I'm actually giving away 2 season passes there, and then next week, on the next I Play Your Way video, that's hard to say fast, I'll be giving away another season pass. So stay subscribed for that, but if you're interested in winning a Zombie Scarlet Witch season pass, you can check out the video I recorded right before this. I'm giving away 2 of them. So yeah, that was the one that literally got me there and probably contributed, and from the numbers perspective, has contributed the least. The other one that this is actually like a bonus 11th one I have here. There is 0 data for this. I guess my Untapped just stopped working, but I played a lot of this, particularly when I was sick. I was playing a lot of this, so I don't know how many cubes or what my win rate was. I don't even know if I had a positive cube rate with it. But it felt like it was good to play on the ladder, and it felt like it was in like the games where you're winning are really, really strong. And this deck is a lot of fun, and I really, really enjoyed this deck. So this is just a hunch, because it's not just like, oh, I didn't scroll down. Like, it's literally no data. Not a single game was tracked when I played this deck, which is shocking. But it has a lot of fun combos. You know, you can go into Symbiote Spider-Man, and sometimes I just ignored the Fallen one, and the play line was simply just going to Symbiote Spider-Man, Black Panther, Arnim Zola. There's a lot of decks out there like Discard and Destroy and End of Turn that aren't running tech cards, that aren't running counters. You're not going to run into a Cosmo or a Shang-Chi or a Shadow King, and so you can just play that Symbiote Spider-Man, Black Panther, Arnim Zola combo, and that's an easy way to win. But there's also really, really fun play lines to do with Nimrod and Arnim Zola and Symbiote Spider-Man and Fallen One, all those things. They're fun. So, a bonus 11th deck for you that I really, really enjoyed playing. But moving on to deck number 9, we have this bounce deck here that I'm very shocked to see included in this. It's barely above the threshold. I have won exactly 10 cubes with this. Of 13 games played, I'm at a 61% win rate. So not the strongest, but I was playing this before the Zombie Scarlet Witch buff. So now that we're at a position where that deck has been buffed, you could be doing even better with this. You could potentially put an Angela in here, but I don't have much more to say about this because it was early on in the testing of Zombie Scarlet Witch, but it was working well enough even when she was not buffed. I imagine that you could be in a pretty fun place with this deck, doing bounce that's all I'll say for it. It was I'm surprised that this is here, so I'm like not prepared to speak about it, but I'm glad that it is here because bounce is a really fun archetype to play. And just like ignoring the Zombie Scarlet Witch combo, Elsa's Bloodstone is surprisingly great in bounce. Surge is surprisingly great in bounce. So just like taking a bounce archetype, putting in Kitty Pryde to change it up a little bit, and then supercharging it, so to speak, with Surge and Elsa Bloodstone, puts it in a good position, and then you just have Zombie Scarlet Witch to help you go, into another location that you might need. So, yeah, I imagine that it could do really well, as it did for me, according to the numbers. So then another Horde archetype deck that I was also surprised to see, but also not surprised to see, is because I when I was playing it, it did feel like it was close to something, just wasn't good enough to be to a point where I really felt like recommending it, is what I called the Zomber deck. In fact, the very, very first video I talked about with Zombie Scarlet Witch, in the comments I said, good news, I found a deck that I think actually is going to work, that I've really been enjoying, that I was thinking about sharing with Zombie Mr. Fantastic. This was the deck, and then I ended up going a different direction, and so I didn't play very much with this. So of the 24 games I've played with this deck, I'm at a 58% win rate and up 14 cubes. It's a pretty straightforward Angela, Hope Summers, Zombie Scarlet Witch, Elsa Bloodstone deck, but then we have combinations in here with Mockingbird and Sasquatch. So then you have these other cards to help you make that a possibility with Kitty Pryde and Merlin to create created cards. Hawkeye K. Bishop creates created cards. The Hood creates created cards. I also particularly like the synergy of Viper with Zombie Scarlet Witch because you can play the Hood into that location. You can play Zombie Scarlet Witch on 3 and then the Hood and Viper on Zombie Scarlet Witch on 4 as an example. And now you have hit another proc into Zombie Scarlet Witch, and now you've opened up a room to get another proc as well. Like you've given yourself one more chance to play in there, in addition to contesting that location with the Hood by sending it over to your opponent. I really, really enjoyed my time playing this deck. It did feel like it was in a good spot when I was playing it. The thing that I'll say, depending on what your hand is, you're actually wanting to hold these cheaper cards until later because you don't have something like a Mysterio to play on turn 5 that can really discount Sasquatch. But if you're playing it smart, especially if you have Hope Summers down, oftentimes what I end up doing is playing Nightcrawler, a Demon, Kitty Pryde, a spell from Merlin, and then 1 or 2 arrows from Hawkeye K. Bishop, and potentially something else, depending on what the hand is. And that was a way to put out a lot of cards really late, get more energy from Hope Summers, and then discount Mockingbird and Sasquatch to have a really explosive final turn. So you oftentimes you're not playing Nightcrawler until turn 5 because you want to use his cheap cost and his ability to move out of the Hope Summers location, out of the Zombie Scarlet Witch location, to discount Sasquatch Had a lot of fun playing this deck. It didn't feel strong enough, and strong enough is the best word, to make its own video, and I ended up going a different direction with Zombie Mr. Fantastic, because I also felt like Merlin was necessary for this deck, and he was going to be my suggestion to take out, or Hawk, or Angela was, but it didn't work as well with Zombie Mr. Fantastic. But this version, as I mentioned, had a 58% win rate, and is deck number 8 for us of those that I climbed with. So then we have a deck that you have seen before. This is deck number 7 for us, a Pixie deck, and I'm at a 66% win rate and up 14 cubes, which is a shocking cube rate because I only played 6 games with this. That's a average cube rate per game of 2.33 cubes. Granted, 6 games is very, very narrow, but I typically would consider excluding this deck because there are so few games played, or putting it near the bottom of the list. But both in the Discord and in comments on my videos, people, in particular one person, and I'm so sorry I can't remember your name, like just recently you commented it. I'm sorry I can't remember your name, who you were. Anyway, you mentioned that this deck was working well for you, that it was part of your climb to infinite. So glad that it worked well for you. It is a strong deck. You're not seeing a lot of Mobius as well, particularly now that he's been nerfed. So this is a great deck to play that I continue to suggest and really, really enjoy. I love Pixie, and Agent Venom and Pixie together is just a fun combo. The other great thing about this, and I'll get into this later when I talk about the tips, you can be extremely confident snapping with this deck. When you hit a Bast on like perfect cards, or when you have Pixie and then you pull like a super cheap Gore and you have Mystique in hand and a cheap Iron Man or something, or like I can't think of those, those are the play lines where you just snap because you are so confident that is a winning play line. Of course you can be Enchantress and that happens, but there is a lot of snappability in Pixie and Esme and Mystique. You can have some really, really surprising wins there. All right. And then I am surprised to say that a video that I did not get around to making when Headpool was released because I got sick, I am surprised to say that I am playing Destroy. I never played Destroy, but it was a really strong meta call. And overall, I played 14 games with this, had a 71% win rate, and I'm up 14 cubes. That's win rate is insane. This deck is very popular right now for a reason. I'm personally going with the Myra X version, but I've seen some people play Nico. I particularly just really, really enjoy Myra X. If you do like playing Myra X, I would actually suggest playing Agony over Nico. I found that Myra and Nico are too much, and you're like running out of board space a lot frequently, and so Agony helps with board space in an important way. And obviously you're destroying, so you don't run out of board space that much. And I just found that if I'm gonna go Moira X, Agony was better than Nico, but Nico is also great. It's a pretty straightforward destroy deck. You've probably played this. If not, you've at least seen other people playing it. You've got your destroyers and your destroyees, and then your cards that really like when cards are destroyed. And so you just destroy stuff. And particularly right now, this deck is at a really strong spot because of what Headpool is doing and how much power, like just slow tick ups to the overall output of your deck, where every card is coming down with extra buffs, and then an additional cheap 1 cost to destroy really helps death and null. And so you're just having really big finishes on your final turn. So, strong archetype. So that will take us into the top 5 with a deck that I apologize, I lied about even more. The title of the video for this card was that I lied about them initially not getting them. And then when I made the video, I talked about, I haven't really found a deck that was really good. And then this deck is deck number 5. It's only played 15 games with it, but I had a 60% win rate. However, really strong cube rate. Up 16 cubes, average per game is 1.07. It felt good, I guess I could say, which is shocking. Let me re-say that. It did not feel good when I was playing this deck, but the data doesn't lie, and so I'm not here we are with me saying that this is a deck that helped me climb to infinite because I was winning enough with it. And I just think it was me being focused on the wrong, again, being myopic and focused on my misery, so to speak, when I was playing with the deck because it didn't feel like it was winning, but clearly from the numbers it was. From what I've seen, I have not come back to Zombie Power Man or Colonel America to experiment with them again. But from what other people said, they said that Zombie Power Man was better in a non-Dracula APOC list, but here we are with a Dracula one, and it's been doing pretty well. Colonel America is one card that I for sure knew was going to be really strong. He's just a strong card, really lifting up the archetype, doing a similar thing to what Dead or Headpool did to Destroy. So, yeah, this is the particular version that, according to the stats, not only did the best out of the Zombie Man and Colonel America decks that I was playing, but also was in the top 5 of decks that helped me climb to Infinite. Now, once again, coming back to another Sasquatch Zombie Scarlet Witch Horde deck, you can tell that I was really, really focused on trying to get this archetype to work. So the reason that there are so many decks of this archetype included on my Climb to Infinite is because I was intentionally trying to climb with this deck on Infinite. And so that was a lot of experimenting and a lot of evaluating of the decks. This is one that I ended up having a lot of fun with. I'm surprised to see that it's this high up there, but I remember when I was playing it thinking like, wow, this is doing a lot better than I thought. Similar thing to what I said is that you got to be really smart and kind of save your cards to discount them the right way. Like I'm oftentimes, saving, like I'm trying to, let me rephrase that. I'm oftentimes saving my Silk, saving my arrows from Hawkeye K Bishop, and saving Kitty Pryde and saving Agony until I can play them really late on the final turn into locations like Hope Summers, or get a copy of them with Frigga early so that I can play more of them, right? If you can get a copy of Kitty Pryde and you can play 2 kitties, right? Those types of things to really try and discount Sasquatch. So knowing that he's like my big finish and my only way to discount, I'm, waiting to play my turns on my cards on turn 5. Not necessarily waiting, but keeping that strategy in mind that, on turn 5, I got to keep in mind that I want to play a lot of cards to kind of discount him. I'm thinking that maybe you could reevaluate this and do things a little bit differently and put in Mockingbird over Sasquatch, or maybe something else, because Zombie Giant Man and Sasquatch are just kind of competing with each other. Like, it's really rare that you're going to get Sasquatch down to 1 cost to be able to play him and Zombie Giant Man, but there definitely were games where I was able to do that. So again, like these 2 cards together, I'm not totally sure. Like you're kind of having competing strategies that way. But when you are able to have Hope Summers to help you play so many cards and get that extra energy, like sometimes you only have to get Sasquatch down to 2 cost, and 1 extra energy from Hope Summers is enough for you to play Zombie Giant Man and Sasquatch. And it's actually pretty easy to get Zombie Giant Man down to 2 cost when you have energy from Hope Summers and a lot of cheap cards. So, yeah, that was this deck. I actually, again, really, really enjoyed it. And I'm sure now that Zombie Scarlet Witch has been buffed, this could be in an even better spot, because I was playing every single one of these Zombie Scarlet Witch decks before the buff to Horde came out. There is one deck that I will mention is the deck that I played after the buff, but all these other ones that I'm seeing were before the buff, and so I'm sure that they're even stronger now. So this is, like I mentioned, the 4th deck for us out of 10. To give you the stats for it, it is current. I played 9 games with it, up 19 cubes, which is also a really strong cube rate. Average 2.11, 2.11 cubes per game at a 77% win rate. So again, not a lot of games played with these decks so far, but the cubes were enough for me to include it on the climb. Even though 10 cubes contributing to the climb is actually very, very small. So maybe I should increase that threshold, because 10 cubes is not, like 10 cubes is 10 cubes. 1 cube is 1 cube, right? You're going to, you earn your way to Infinite 1 cube at a time. Even with an 8 cuber, it's still 1 cube at a time that climb is achieved. And so 10 cubes is 10 cubes, but in comparison to how many cubes you have to climb, it's not actually that many. So maybe I'm being a little bit loose with my threshold. But all I know is that these next few decks are the top 3 decks that we have are above that threshold of 10. So if you've been feeling like these decks that I've been saying have not enough gameplay, games played, or not enough cubes won, well, the top 3 are what did most of the climbing for me. By most, I mean the extreme majority. And so for deck number 3, we actually have one that was from Resident Monster in our Discord. He shared this deck and mentioned that he was having a lot of fun with it, and he was using it on his climb. I saw it decided to play it and have really, really enjoyed playing it and have been trying to make a video of it. I just haven't been able to. Getting sick really ruined my plans this season. But it is a Zorn Hydra Stomper, or sorry, a Zorn Redwing. That was the card I was searching for. It is a Zorn Redwing deck with Dracula. And I love these types of decks, and it is a lot of fun to play. What I will say is that their deck is slightly different than mine. They have Surge in here instead of Hydra Stomper, so no Hydra Stomper. They have Surge. And then they have Infinite in place of Heimdall. But I like the Hydra Stomper synergy. I really, really like the card of Hydra Stomper, so that's probably a better way to play it with Surge and Infinite, but I just like Hydra Stomper, and if you're going to include Hydra Stomper, Heimdall is an obvious inclusion because, even if your other strategies aren't working out with Zorn or something, playing Heimdall on turn 6 and having all your cards move can get Hydra Stomper to be a pretty big card, and so, those two are an obvious inclusion together. But the rest of the strategy is just you want to move cards around with Zorn, and then you want Dracula to discard a Giganto or something, and it's a lot of fun and really, really surprising what it can put out. I played a lot of games with this. I played 43 games with this. However, I'm only at a 53% win rate, and I'm up 27 cubes. So not a very, very strong cube rate, but that is also part of the tips that we'll get into later. I was learning this deck, so I don't think I snapped a single time playing this deck because I was still getting comfortable and developing confidence in knowing, oh, this is like a really strong winning position. This one is not. And I also particularly, that was when I was most negative on my climb. That was when I was complaining the most. I was really, really concerned and feeling like I was going to get shut down at any given moment. So it made me very leery of snapping because I was just I was feeling like the game was out to get me, so to speak, and that everything was going to make me lose. So I wasn't snapping a lot. So it probably could have contributed to even more cubes with a higher cube rate, but just out of the quantity of games played, it still contributed 23 cubes, and I had a lot of fun. Genuinely, really, of all the decks that I played, this was among the funnest to play. Every time I played it, I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you, Resident Monster, for cooking this up and sharing it in the Discord. And you are welcome to join the Discord if you're watching this video. Link in the description. All right, so now we get into the top 2, and these are both decks that you have seen before, from other videos, but deck number 2, this is the first time that the deck has helped me climb to infinite because it's the first time that this deck has ever existed. And here we are. It is the deck that I shared with Zombie Mr. Fantastic, with Joaquin Torres, and The Hunger. I had 3 different versions of this that I mentioned that I was experimenting with. One of them included Angela. Yeah, is one of them had Angela instead of Cosmo, and just a few card tweaks. This was the version that I ended up at the very end that I feel like is the best. But if I combine all of those, this should actually be deck number 1 because I combine all of those and I have played 79 games and I'm up 65 cubes overall at a 65% win rate. That's a lot of cubes and a lot of games played. This particular version that we're looking at here is the one. Is the one that did the most for me. This exact version I played 51 games with, and I'm up 30 cubes with at a 62% win rate. So really, really enjoyed this deck. Enjoyed playing it. Similar notes to the last one where there was a lot of learning curve with it and developing the confidence and the trust in the deck, so there was not a lot of snapping, and I could have snapped a lot more to make that climb even faster, but this is a really, really, really fun deck to play. If you need card swaps, a lot of people were saying, oh, I don't have Joaquin Torres. My thoughts are that you could go an Angela approach, or you could go just go even bouncier and go Toxin. That's an option for you. Okay, and then we have deck number 1, which is a deck that I have talked about at length because I love it. It is the Victoria Hand Moon Girl ongoing deck that is just extremely fun to play. Probably my new favorite deck I've ever played. It's from Keep On Truckin' in our Discord, member of the channel as well. He shared it in the Discord, and it's just great to see people playing it. It is just my flavor of Marvel Snap and everything that I love about Snap, and so I loved playing this deck. Had 53 games played with it, 67% win rate, and up 58 cubes, which is an average of 1.09 cubes per game. I love ongoing. I love Victoria Hand, and now I'm in love with Moon Girl, and this is just I love this deck. As you can tell, I've been focusing on upgrading these cards and trying to get all of them to God Splits. I love this deck so much. It's just been a blast to play. I can't believe how fun it's been. I've talked about this deck at length, so there'll be a description in the description. All the deck codes will be listed there, in addition to any videos I made involving those decks. And as a final note, if you don't like the Victoria Hand version of that deck, a deck like this has been shared in many iterations. This is also just a really, really strong archetype that you can play right now, and I highly suggest you could play. And there's a lot of options that you could a lot of directions you could go with. The one that I mentioned is very Victoria Hand focus, that you could just go straight ongoing focused, and then you have the option to include some more tech cards like Cosmo. Like you could take out Mobius and put in Cosmo, or Stardust is a really great tech card. And then you could go the direction of Ravonna Renslayer and Iron Man and Mystique, or you could put in a regular Mr. Fantastic in here. Like there's so many different options that you could go with this. You could go, you could still include Bastion in here. You could go Astral Projection and to get another Spectrum. So that there's a lot of directions that you can go with this, of just pivoting in this ongoing way. Which cards do I want to focus on having? There's so many. Like you could take out Captain Carter to put in a Mr. Fantastic or something to get more Ravonna synergy, something like that. So there's a lot of options that you could kind of come with of depending on what cards you're having, what pocket meta you're in. Stardust is a better tech card for me, or Armor is a better tech card for me, or you could even go Mercury is a better tech card for me instead of Stardust. So I'm going to take out Stardust and put in Mercury, which I actually think one of the coolest synergies is between Moonstone and Mercury. If you play Moonstone in Mercury's location, you can move Moonstone, which I think is the coolest thing ever. Anyway, so that's a direction that you could go as well. I think Spectrum Ongoing is actually in a really great spot, and that makes me happy. I think this is a great deck to play. So those are all the decks that you could potentially play. They will be linked in the description. If there's videos relevant to them, there'll also be a video shared with them. You can also consider joining our Discord if you want. If you want to share your own deck. Again, as I mentioned, I am giving away a season pass for Zombie Scarlet Witch in the video I uploaded right before this, an I Play Your Way video where I played the deck that literally got me to Infinite. And then next week, we'll do an I Play Your Way video, and we'll give away another season pass. We're going to do an I Play Your Way video every week now and give a season pass away every week. So subscribe for that. But before you go, let me just share some last tips with you in regard to your climb on ladder. And I'm just going to hang out here on the screen as I do so. They're very, very simple things. One of them is play to the feature locations, or don't play to them, right? Use the feature locations to your advantage. As an example, I saw somebody post, and this is so smart, when Muir Island was a featured location, the one that gives cards +1 power at the end of every turn. Clea is an incredible card to play when that is a featured location. When the Horde +1 at the end of turn was a featured location, that's a great time to play the Horde with Mockingbird. So, keep that in mind. You don't have to. And featured locations are only here 2 days a week. So the other days of the week, you're not going to be able to do that. But be aware of how adjusting your game plan to featured locations can really add some extra momentum to your deck, because now, in addition to the synergies of your deck, you also have the synergy of the RNG of the game assisting you and giving you more momentum in your climbing. The other one that I mentioned a lot as I was mentioning the videos is develop confidence and trust in your deck to snap and retreat really smart. One of the reasons that my climb in particular was so challenging is because most of the decks I was choosing to play were a new archetype, a new way to play the game, and so I was, in addition to experimenting with the new deck and new archetype and trying to build something with it and having to figure that out, there was also a lot of it of developing a trust in the deck and knowing when I was in a winning spot and I could confidently snap, or knowing when I definitely wasn't in a winning spot and I should definitely retreat. I stuck around in way too many games, particularly as I was getting frustrated with my climb. I don't know why. I just started to stick around for more games and be less snap and retreat smart, and I just stopped retreating, which is only going to hurt your climb. Retreating is a very, very essential part of climbing, and I can't stress that enough, that my climb was made much more miserable because I was unwilling to retreat when it was obvious that I should have. So that's a dumb thing. But your climb can get faster as you're more confident in your deck and you're snapping. So play a deck if you're, either develop the trust and confidence in your deck or play a deck that you have trust and confidence in so that you can snap and retreat smart, because those are really, really, again, everyone says this, essential mechanics to being able to climb. Knowing when to snap and knowing when to retreat. Your climb can get a lot better when you are snapping smart. And the last tip that I have is just be patient and take breaks when you're tilted. I had a major crash out. I literally was in tears when I was trying to climb with Zombie Scarlet Witch, and it was before her buff, and I was also sick, and I was miserable, and I was frustrated with the climb, and like there was a lot of emotion. I was tilted in every sense of the word. And then I just stopped playing and came back a little while later, and like a day later or 2 days later, Zombie Scarlet Witch was buffed, and then I got to Infinite. Like be realistic with yourself that it doesn't have to happen right now. You do not have to reach Infinite today. Unless today's the last day of the season, then you have to today because you just ran out of time. But like, give yourself a break. Like, allow yourself to be like, it's okay. I don't have to right now. So let me take a break. Let me walk away from the game. Let me retreat. Let me, remove this resentment that I'm holding towards my opponent because they're doing a good job. They're also trying to win. Good for them. They won. Instead of being resentful towards them, let me just take a break and come back later, because right now is their time to shine, and they're doing well on our ladder climb. Later, it will be my time. Allow yourself to take a deep breath when it comes to your climb. So those are my tips, and those are also the decks that I use to reach Infinite. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the people who suggested decks to play, and thanks for being great supporters of the channel. It genuinely means a lot to me that you would consider to click on this video and watch it. If you made it all the way to this point, leave a pineapple emoji so that I know that you're a true legend, and good luck on your climb. Again, like I mentioned, giving away Season Pass on the video right before this, and every week reoccurring in the I Play Your Way. So, we're going to do what we can to shake up this meta and make it a little bit better, because we can do that. As we found this season, is that when there are brews out there that are off meta that you can get to Infinite with. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.